Now back to this. Right as we left off. Damn, don't step on that. The tube. The copper tube I used, it's more than a 1/4 inch. I'm not too sure the exact size dimensions on it. If you're going to go to a hardware store and test fit this, you can pick up a 1-foot-long tube. That's what I did. I just picked up a foot of this stuff, which is fairly cheap if you get it in pieces and you're not going, wherever. Anyway, just a regular BB, and you can see down there, you can see how much of a gap there is. There's a fair-sized hole there. The reason I chose copper is because copper is easy to work with. It bends real smoothly. It's easy to get. You just go to a hardware store and get a length of copper. I think even the bigger nationwide chains sell it by the foot. It's easy to cut. If you've got a pipe cutter, it leaves nice clean seams, which this actually isn't that clean on the inside, but that's easy to fix with a bit of a Dremel tool or a file, which you will need files. You will definitely need files. Anyway, so the bending is very important, because all I did to make this angle here, I simply took and bent, like right here, and I stuck it in there, angled it in, and just kept bending on it until it fed out and down to an appropriate spot. I simply stuck these two together before I even started working on the copper. Took this and slid it into place where it's supposed to be, where it is supposed to be, and eyeballed it. You can see a bit of marker here and underneath the paint here where it would go into place, right here, or right there. Anyway, I eyeballed it. It takes a lot of eyeballing, and I just did really good on all of them, because I didn't never really have that many issues. I guess the next course of action is, anyway, let's go back down to here. Like I said, a file. I cut this off with a Dremel tool, which, as you can see here, left a lot of rough. You'll want to take a rotary file on really low, or just simply a rat tail file, not rat tail file, but a small cylindrical file, and just kind of go back and forth real lightly. Copper being soft will, give in pretty easily, which may be an issue with that guy that's doing the mod that's not working too well. Double check to make sure this is perfectly smooth, because you'll run into issues both here and here if it's not a a smooth spot, smooth cut. Anyway, back down here. Whoever had this magazine before me, I don't know how you managed to break the inside-y parts like you did, but good job. I don't know. Anyway, as you can see, this is the entirety of my guts for my AEG mag. I took the top off of it and simply glued it into place up here so I could, still open and shut and use the BBs down there. You really, all you need is the top, way to keep it. Well, you actually don't even need the top. You just need the bottom and the important bits, because the copper tube itself will keep this into place. You want to have enough. You want to have it be a tight squeeze between the copper tube and the base plate. When you put the base plate back on, you want to almost force it up, because you want to have constant pressure on your copper tube. That way you always have the copper tube and the feeding hole pressed up and lined up together at all times. Yeah, pretty much. So, like that. Yeah, I'm a herp to derp. Don't mind me. Anyway, you'll definitely want to keep an eye on down here to make sure it lines up. You'll definitely want to start with way too much and just continually shave it off until you have the perfect fit. Whenever I first made this had a little too much on it, and it wasn't feeding right, but me shaving it off, just bam, bazam, bazow, perfect. Another place to keep an eye out, you'll definitely want to keep this channel clear. In this case, since it's plastic, you can just take a razor blade and just kind of cut at an angle across it and be good. this thing split apart, so I had to take a strip of that plastic I have and just glue it on there. But as far as I know, everything else works fine. You probably won't have that issue, but anyway. Let's see here. I recommend drilling a hole in the side. That way, if your magazine is like my magazine and has a little hex port there, you can quickly and easily charge your AEG magazine through the side. Sure, there's a hole in the side, but who's going for reality whenever you got a hose going off and 400 rounds going down range? Anyway, feeding, gas, magazine, basic tools. Back to basic tools. Of course, with the basic tools, like I said earlier, you will also need some specific things like drill bits. You'll need not a huge drill bit set, but having a fair-sized drill bit set going up to 10 millimeters would be a good idea, or 3/8 inch in the American standard. That way you can start with picking where you're going to be drilling the hole, marking that with a little scribe or a screwdriver or something, and then starting out drilling a small hole there, and then just making that hole bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to the appropriate matched size with the tap and die. Tap. Because each tap has a specific drill bit to go with it. That way it works out properly. Now, my dad did me a favor and bought this for me at a local place. I think he said it was about 30 bucks for everything, which included the T-handle for the tap, the tap itself, and the corresponding drill bit. You could probably find them a lot cheaper online, and you don't really have to go for quality so much because you're only going to do one thing with it, and it's not like this is heavy duty metal. I mean, it's just a light shitty alloy, really. Anyway, so the tap. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's an M10 by 1.0 D5 HS, which is high-speed steel. It's an M10, so a 10 millimeter by 1 D5. It's been too long since I've learned about this stuff, so I don't really remember what it's called. Really, this is just a corresponding T-handle, a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 in this case. You can get away with using one of those screwdriver styles. I mean, either way, it's up to you. You can even use a drill, but I'd not recommend it. It fits into place like so. You just tighten it down, kind of like a drill chuck. The drill bit. Now this is a 9 millimeter. A 9 millimeter. So if you have a 9 millimeter drill bit, and you already have, for some reason, all the other stuff, you don't actually have to buy anything. If you need to buy them separately, and you have a 9 millimeter drill bit, well, what's the point? Why spend the extra money on their stuff? I like it because it's a nice little kit. I can keep it all together, and I'm setting, for every little tap I need, which I've done this one and a Luger magazine, which didn't exactly work out too well. Next on the list, since we're talking about tapping, the walls of the G39's magazine, even though it's the back and fairly thick considering, aren't very thick. Because this isn't a quality steel, as I say, it's not a quality steel, and because it's not a thick wall, I would recommend, highly recommend, you taking your magazine apart, boiling it maybe, of course taking the O-rings off, getting as much residue as you can off of it, and then taking some quick steel, fast steel, whatever they call it. It's pretty much an epoxy that has metal shavings in it. It's magnetic, so it's got some iron in it somewhere. Combining that together and then just packing it on the back. I'd recommend also taking several files, sizes, you can use just one, but I ended up using several of them for some reason. and just running it across the back, running across the sides in this corner. That way that it's rough. You want to kind of gouge at it, make it rough in the back. And then once you've got it nice and roughed up, the epoxy will have more to grip to. It won't just slide out of place. That way it stays in place and it's a good solid grip. Now, I built it up a fair amount, but I've still left enough space in between the screw column and, of course, the epoxy itself. It doesn't have to be a whole lot sticking out and everywhere because you are limited. You have to get this in there deep enough to get the threads actually ran and started and all that, which can take a little bit. Yeah. But anyway, it took a few different tries for me to get this sealed up. I actually used Teflon tape several times, and it never truly sealed up. It would always leak. I went in and then actually got some blue thread lock, which I would recommend you picking up for all the little bits and bobs on your G39 that will fall off. Getting that blue thread lock, and I put it on the threads and put it in there and let it sit overnight. Afterwards, I took it out, wrapped it in Teflon tape, and put it back in, and it's been airtight ever since. That would be an easy, quick way to get it all airtighted, just in case you ran into the issue like I did, where the simple Teflon tape would not work. I'm kind of running out of topics that I can come up with. How about this? I haven't looked into it, but I would highly recommend it if it exists to pick up a 1/8 NPT shut-off valve to put on your Palmer's rig in between the quick detach and the hose itself. That way you can shut off your gas and pull your mag off. Sure, you can detach your magazine from your gun, but this is heavy. Having this, you can put it in a dump pouch. That worked out for me whenever I've had to put it on the side. Putting it in a dump pouch would work, but if you have to sit down and all this stuff tied to you, it does get in the way. During a game, I don't exactly see you ever running into an issue, but having a shut-off valve in line may come in really, really handy. I know it would for me. Okay. Well, let's move back over here. The Palmer's rig is adjusted through this screw right here. It's just a Allen head screw, and it's labeled plus this way, minus that way. You'll adjust it to the PSI you want. In this case, it would go up to 140 PSI for 120 or even 100, depending. But you want to check your continuous flow. Say, pull the trigger on automatic and check to see what the PSI would be as it's sitting. From 100 PSI, after I get done shooting, it can go up to 140 or 160, just depending on what it wants to do. But the 120 would go down to 110, sometimes down to 100. 100 would likewise go down to 80. It just depends on the pressure in the tank, how good your lines are, the pressure outside, all that stuff. So toy around with it. Start off low. Start off at 0, and then just keep adjusting it up very slightly. This technically would be the high pressure one because it can go up to full pressure, whereas they make a low pressure one that will only go up to a 200 PSI. For safety's sake, if you're really worried about this stuff and you have the money to spend on it, go right ahead and buy one of those. Mine, I just didn't want to bother on it. So that's really it, I think.